Great, welcome to this session. The topic is how to make decisions. I'm going to speak for about 40 minutes or so. I'm recording this, I'll put it online, and I've got some notes as well. So most of what I say is in note form, and I can share the slides with you, and I'll put them on the Newman House University Chaplaincy Facebook page, so you can get the notes and the PowerPoint slides then, if that's good revision. Decision making. And I'm not putting this under the big heading of discernment in general, but just particularly, here's a decision I've got to make. It's difficult for most of us. Yeah? There's about 5% of people who have a certain personality type who don't find decisions difficult. Yeah, they just make them. I was about to name famous people who are like this. I won't get personal. Yeah? The rest of the 95% of us, we find difficulty making decisions. And particularly for you young people, students in London, I think there's particular difficulties. I think that you experience an extra difficulty in decision making, and I'm going to suggest some reasons why, and you can disagree with me when we have the questions and the discussions at the end. I think generally the people I know working here for 6 years, there is an anxiety in making decisions, big and small. There's a pressure on you from other people, from society, from parents, from yourself. There's a perfectionism in you that makes decision making difficult. There's a lot of self-doubt and insecurity, even though you are some of apparently the most talented, academically qualified people in the world, etc., for being at some wonderful universities in London. Yeah? So all these things splurge together. And I'm just guessing here, I'm clutching at straws. I think some of this is the culture that we live in. Some of this is that you come from families where there's a lot of parental pressure on you. It's partly why you have done well. There's a culture of excellence and academic achievement in many of your families. So there's a lot of pressure on you. You are high achievers by definition of getting into good universities. And I think for many of you, you're used to working hard. You know, you're 19, 20, 21, 25, but you don't have much experience of making practical decisions beyond very boring day-to-day things. I'm not being patronising, I just mean in the educational systems that have formed you, the main decision you've had is working hard, isn't it? Am I going to work hard? Am I going to get up? Am I going to do the homework? Am I going to revise? Am I going to compete and do well and be obedient to my teachers and my parents? Or am I going to rebel and not, etc.? But most of you are spending a huge amount of your life from age 4 to wherever you are now on working hard to achieve academically. And that's not the field of practical decision making. You've learnt to work hard, to be obedient, to function well within the system, to get the rewards that come with those systems. It's not wrong in itself, but it's a very narrow range of human experience. And you haven't had loads of practice in practical decision making. Also, there's a culture of grading, which has brainwashed you. Yeah? Everything in your life is graded. Some of you have gone to school in Singapore, you're graded at 4, aren't you? You can't get into reception unless you've got good grades at nursery. It's true, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah? But you're graded, some of you, from age 3 to 29 when you finished your PhD. And also, you're graded in every area of your life now because of social media and tracking. Yeah? You grade your social activity with likes and retweets. Have you ever thought of the likes that you get on your Facebook feed and your Instagram feed? It's a form of grading, isn't it? Do you see the obsessive pattern you're in? I want to do well in my exams. I want to do well in my Facebook and Instagram exam, which is the number of retweets I'm getting. You find it hard to just be because everything is measured. It's the commodification of human identity. And also there's a culture of permanent traces. Yeah? Everything you do from the past has been recorded. your life, the photos, the videos that your parents took, your first attempt at Facebook when you were 8 or 9 or 12, it's all there. It's never going to disappear. Yeah? You can't ski across the surface of the water and leave no trace in the waves. Yeah? You're writing in concrete, not in sand. So everything you do becomes part of your CV. Informal, your social media CV, your trackable CV, and it's hard to recover from the past. So all of this adds up to an individual who finds it very hard to be free and make decisions naturally and comfortably and easily. Do you see? I'm not blaming you, I'm saying this is the world that you live in. Decision making is always hard, but it's extra hard for you. And the effect is, as I've said, anxiety about decision making, pressure, a perfectionism, I'm going to go on to this, thinking that there's a perfect decision to be made and what if I fail to make it, procrastination, which afflicts many of you, just from normal human laziness but lots of deeper reasons as well, and the paralysis that can go with perfectionism. We fear constantly, and you fear especially, that you're making the wrong decision all the time. So even when you make what I will try and convince you is a good decision, you're still not happy and you're still worried that you've made the wrong decision. Right? Is this fair, some of this? This is you. Not all of you. Not all the time. I'm exaggerating. Right. Okay. That's what I've just said on bullet points. Okay, I'll share these slides with you. The discussion tonight is not, this is what it's not about. We're not talking about small trivial decisions. I'll do a kind of 1 minute on them. You know, do I go to McDonald's or KFC? That is, if you're getting, if you're crucifying yourself with anxiety about this, something's wrong with you. Yeah? And you need a therapist, seriously, not a lecture about decision making. So we're not going to go into tiny trivial decisions. We're not going to go into purely pragmatic practical decisions where there is a clear pragmatic logical solution. Yeah? What's the quickest way for me to get on public transport to London Bridge? Well, go on Google and find the answer. Yeah? That we're not going into that. Even if it's kind of a 10-year plan, if there's a clear logical answer where you just need the facts, that's not interesting us. And also, we're not going to deal with clear moral choices. In other words, if there's a fork in the road, this is clearly a wrong path for a Christian to walk down, and here's a good path, that takes a lot of thought and spiritual direction and possibly help, and that's another talk, dealing with moral decisions. But that's not what I'm talking about. Because in terms of practical reason and decision making, I hope it's clear for you as a Christian that you should do the right thing and not the wrong thing. Do you see? So what are we talking about? That's my next slide. We are talking about medium to large scale decisions where it is unclear what is the best way forward. These are the things that we find difficult. Yeah? Medium to large scale decisions where we're not sure what is right, what we want, what we should do, what God wants us to do, what the consequences of our choices are going to be. Yeah? All these medium to large situations where we don't know what to do and we need to decide. That's what we're talking about. Okay? Can I have some examples, please? I've got my own here. Just tell me some. Tell me some medium to large decisions that you've struggled with without being too personal. Yeah? This isn't confessional. I don't want to know about your love life, not in public. Yeah, just what's some things that come up in ordinary life for young adults like yourselves?
Choice of master's degree.
Which master's degree?
Or a choice of going for a master's.
To do a master's degree or not?
Where to live.
Where to live?
Jobs to apply for.
Which jobs to apply for?
What should I do in my spare time?
Yeah, great. A medium-sized decision. Yeah. What to do with my spare time, which is often a lot of time. Sometimes not so much. Antonia says no. Yeah. What else?
Which career to go for?
Which career to go for? Not just which work to apply for, but which career in my next stage of life. Okay, here's my scribble of topics that come up and that I've talked about with students over the last couple of years. 2 different job options in the same town. 2 jobs, the same job but in different countries. Further study or a job. Do I go home to my family or do I stay here in London where I've lived for 3 years? Do I follow a religious vocation or not? Do I go out with this person or not? Do I get engaged to this person or not? Do I say yes to this person who's asked me to marry them or not? Do I stay friends with someone when we're getting in difficulties in our friendship? Do I stay in a job or a relationship when I'm unhappy in it? How much time do I have to give to my parents when I live away from home? How much do I compromise, or at all, my Christian values at work? How much do I have to compromise my Christian values, my personal values in friendship? Whether to whistle-blow immoral practices at work. I've had these conversations, all of them, in the last year. Many times in the last 6 years. And you see that most of these are not just pragmatic decisions, but they're existential ones, and that's why we find them hard. They're not just what's the best way to achieve this goal, I can ask Google that, but they are what is the goal? You see the difference? Yeah. Okay, what's the job that will give me the most money? There's an easy answer to that. I can search on Google. What job do I want to do? Google can't tell you. Because it's about who I am, what I want, what I'm seeking, where I'm going in life. And the choice defines me. If I knew who I am, what I want, where I'm going, the choice would be easier. But this choice forces me to think about these much deeper existential questions. Not always, but often. Even what haircut am I going to have? Yeah? Really? Who am I going to be? Look at you all. You've all had different restyles over the Christmas holidays. Some of you have. You've thought, oh, it's only a £10 haircut, but actually I'm going to be a different person when I... No, Oscar's is a kind of £1.99 haircut, isn't it? Right. Okay, this is all background. Now, first of all, I want to do some theoretical stuff, and then I want to be practical. Here's the theoretical stuff. No, that's the next bit. This is just me talking, there's no slides for this. What I'm going to say now is the core of what I want you to hear, because I hope it will change the way you look at decisions, and it will take away from lots of the unnecessary stress and anxiety. Some of the stress and anxiety is never going to go away. It's called life. But some of it is unnecessary because we're thinking about decisions in the wrong way. Here we go. Making a decision is not about finding the perfect answer. It's about making a good decision. It's not about finding the perfect answer. There's 1,000 answers out there. Which one is perfect? Which one is ranked number 1? Like, which university am I going to go to? Which is the top ranking? Which is ranked number 3? Which is ranked number 7? That is not what decision making is about. Decision is about making a good decision. Put it another way, making a decision is not like passing an exam. Have I got 100%? I've got to get 90%. I've got to get 81 to pass. It's not like solving a puzzle. It is not like getting out of an escape room. Right? It is not like, all these knots, it is not like discovering a hidden secret. Right? Here am I, here's a decision. There's a secret there, I've got to find it. Oh no, I can't find the secret answer. and I can't make a decision properly until I find the secret answer. No. Making a decision is creating a new situation. It's an act of creativity. It's taking a step forward. It's not digging in the ground looking for hidden treasure that you might or you might not find. All those analogies, digging for treasure, passing an exam, making a decision is more like we're walking in the countryside. We're going along a path, there's no decisions to make. The path ends. I want to get over there. I'm not sure where to go, but I've got to choose which way to go forward. Okay, I'm going to do the best I can, then I'm going to step forward. And I'm creating that new path by making the decision. I'm not saying you can't make mistakes, we'll come on to this later, but I'm trying to change this thing that pervades so much of the anxiety, that there's a secret right answer out there, and if only I could find it I'd be happy, but oh no, I can't find it. Aristotle and then Aquinas speak about the distinction between theoretical reason and practical reason. Theoretical reason requires truth. You can be right or wrong. Practical reason requires wisdom and clarity in order to know how to act in these circumstances. So it doesn't require logical proof or infallible information. It requires the information I can get in these limited circumstances to take a step forward and make an action. This is what practical reason is in Aristotle and Aquinas. So this is the key sentence, right? The task is not to find the perfect solution. It is to make the best decision you can. What's my job here? Today, or maybe this year, maybe it's going to take some time. My job is to make the best decision I can. And if you have that attitude, it puts so many pieces into place and it gets rid of so much junk. And we'll find that as we go along. Because very often the problem is not that there's a good thing and a bad thing. That's, if you like, a moral choice. It's not that there's a clear right and a clear wrong. It's that we've got two good things in front of us, isn't it? Two masters, two jobs. If you've got none, you've got no decision-making problem. Yeah? If you've got 3 job applications, if you've got 3 universities you could apply for, which one are you going? There's 3 good things. So that's the struggle. Do you see, there's no perfect thing, there's 3 good things. But yes, doing one, choosing one, does exclude the others. This is why it's existential. And it is a challenge. And it is a bit scary and exciting and exhilarating. But actually some things, they can't be measured on a scale together. This thing of grading again, which is the perfect answer? Is it 97%? Is the guy or the girl I'm looking for, is he or she 97% or only 84%? Or oh no, have I got to settle for 49%? You can't compare people like this. You can have a wish list, sure, and I'll come on to that again. But some decisions are incommensurable, meaning they can't be measured on the same scale. Jean-Paul Sartre, my existential philosopher hero, which, as you know, I spent 3 years studying him, he gives this lovely example of existential decision making. It's in the Second World War. He says there's a man who is caring for his sick mother and wants to go and fight for his country to defend France against the Nazi invasion. He can't do both. It's the choice between love of his mother and family and love of his and love of his country. They're both fundamentally important. They're both good. But he couldn't do both, this young man. He had to make a choice. And Sartre said, in this case, let's take give him the benefit of the doubt and say there wasn't a moral right or wrong here. You can't abandon your sick mother in the street. Let's assume that he could have done either in good conscience. Sartre's saying in this case, you can't compare these two, because the choice of which you're going to do actually creates a new situation and creates your identity. You can't say, do I love my mother more than my country? You'll only find out by making the choice, strangely. But that's a whole existentialist theme. And also, so there's my big point. The task is not to find the perfect solution, it's to make the best decision you can. But I just add into this, from a Christian perspective, that this is about the Christian vision of being human, of our human dignity, that we have a dignity. We are cooperators with God. We are stewards of creation. He's given us the responsibility for our life to a great extent. So do you see the connection again? We're not slaves trying to find the secret, impossible to find plans of the master. We want to do God's will, sure, I'm not denying that. But it's not like a puzzle or a trap or a game that God is playing to us. Part of what we're doing in making decisions is sharing in God's responsibility and creativity. And He's putting some decisions into our hands. And He wants us to use our freedom and our intelligence and our goodness and our passion, and we'll come on to this, to make the best decision we can. But He wants us to make the decision and to be at peace about that. And to trust that the Holy Spirit is guiding us and giving wisdom to us, and that if we're open to Him and we're doing the best we can, He will guide us. And to trust ultimately in providence. This is such a big theme for finding peace in decision making. That if we do our best in good conscience, so we're not choosing things we know are morally wrong, and we're not making decisions irresponsibly, we're just rushing them, or we're uncaring, or we're dismissive, or we're not listening to others. If we're avoiding evil, not doing things we know we're wrong, and if we're trying to make good, wise decisions, we can trust absolutely that God's providence is guiding us, and that where we end up is the place that God wants us to be for that moment. It doesn't mean we won't change, but if God is good and we're trying to follow His will and we're trying to be loving, responsible, faithful Christian decision makers, then at each moment we will make the best decision we can. God will help us. We can trust that we've made a good decision, and if we need to change that, we can and we will, but we have peace in each step and in each decision we take. And He'll help us to move forward. It gets rid of this endless remorse, this endless self-criticism. And even if we make what we realise with hindsight is a bad decision, if we made it in good faith, we can trust that God wanted us to make it. Do you see that? How could He couldn't want you to not make a decision in good faith, could He? He wants you to make the best decision you can, and if it seems to be the wrong thing, to trust still that you're in the right place, and He'll help you to be in a better place. Proverbs 16:9. The human mind plans the way, but the Lord directs the steps. Never forget the parable of the talents. We are given different gifts, different quantities of gifts. 5 talents, 2 talents and 1. It doesn't matter. It's not about trying to have 5 talents. It's about doing well with the talents that we're given. And equally, it's about doing well with the decision-making possibilities we have and with the decisions that we have made. And then being called to the next decision, and then the next decision. It will never be perfect, but that's not the point. The point is to do the best we can with the talents we have, and to make the best decisions we can with the information and the gifts that we have, and to trust absolutely that if we do that, we are doing the right thing. We are doing the right thing, and the peace that comes through that. Okay? Right. Very theoretical. You could leave now. That's the important thing, I think, from what I've said. But you're probably thinking that the next list is the important thing. I'm going to put it all up, because I forgot to go to do the bullet points thing, where you bring them up one at a time. There's my big list of the basics. Just have a little look so you don't get distracted, and I'll talk you through it. Now, you might have come wanting a 3-step answer to a quick decision, and I've given you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, an 11-step plan to making a good decision. Right? It's like an examination of conscience. You don't need to use it all the time, but it's good to have a checklist, especially if you're stuck. Right? So just there it is on one slide, on one piece of paper. These are some of the things that will help you. You don't have to go through them all. You don't need them all, but let's just look at them. The basics of making a decision. Let's say you've got to make a decision today about something important, or over the next 6 months you've got to gradually work out what you're going to do with a decision in June. Right? It's about work, or career, or visas, or relationships, or faith. Yeah, any of these things. Right, to skip through the basics. Pray. Pray for guidance, for wisdom. Pray to the Holy Spirit, especially, who gives us wisdom. And pray to your patron saints and the patron saints of your problem. If you've got an exam, pray to St. Thomas Aquinas or St. Albert the Great. Yeah? If you've got a relationship engagement worry, pray to St. Joseph and Mary and to some of the great married saints. If you've got a law application tomorrow, pray to St. Thomas More, patron saint of lawyers. Do you see? Pray, and pray to the patron saints. But please don't pray necessarily for an answer, inverted commas, because God might not want to give you one, and there might not be one in that tidy way that you want. Pray for guidance and discernment, and back to my repetitive mantra, pray that you can make the decision well. You can pray for an answer if you want. Yeah? Which of these 2 jobs should I take? Okay, pray for an answer, but pray above all that you can make the decision well. James chapter 1, if any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to you. Pray for wisdom, pray for guidance. Pray that God's will is done. That's what we pray in the Lord's Prayer, isn't it? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. But it's not God's will versus your will. You're praying that you can do his will and do it joyfully and lovingly with your whole heart and mind, and discover what's true for God and for you. Usually they go together. But don't pray too much. Right? The temptation is to think that you can force God's hand. Yeah. If I pray a lot, then he'll give me the answer. No. If you pray with faith, he will guide you. You don't need to pray a lot. You need to pray a little bit with faith. Simple prayers. Pray in the evening. If it's an ongoing thing, make a little prayer each day if you want to. If it's a very big thing, do a special prayer. Go to a church to pray. Ask a priest to offer Mass for your intentions. Do a novena. Don't do this of whether to go to McDonald's or KFC, because you won't eat for 9 days. But do a special prayer for a special intention once. But don't do 10 novenas, because you don't need to. You might feel inspired to. Maybe I take that back. Maybe you do want to. But just, it's not the more you pray, the more you get. It's to pray with faith is to ask God's help. And actually, there's a slight temptation when we're feeling uneasy and insecure to kind of grip the wheel of prayer too tightly. I'm not saying stop praying. I'm saying pray with great trust, hand it over to God, and then do everything else in your life. Next bullet point, research. You've got a decision to make. Well, at the very least, get the information you need. Get the facts. Do you know what the salary is for this job? Do you know what the requirements are for this master's course? Do you know anything about this person that you fell in love with at the pub last night? You know, they're beautiful, great, but do you know anything about them? We can go round in circles about what we would like to do, but we haven't done the research. Just get the basic facts, get the information, do the research, talk to people involved, go and visit this place, this workplace, this university. Spend some time with someone in a friendship group before you dive into some deep long-term relationship with them. Get to know them first. Just do the research, get the facts. Third bullet point, work out your personal non-negotiables. This is common sense, but it's worth doing on a piece of paper, this. Yeah? For the job I hope to do, for the country I hope to live in, for the person I hope to marry, there will be some non-negotiables, and it's worth putting them into words at a certain moment. Again, don't get obsessive about this. Don't have a checklist of 117 points for your perfect partner, because it's going to get depressing. Really. But you will have one or two non-negotiables. Yeah? I want to go home and live in Nigeria when I've finished. That's a must. So don't apply for jobs in America then. I cannot afford to stay in London anymore. Well, go and live in Manchester. I really want to marry someone who shares my Catholic faith. I'm not saying you have to, but if that's for you so important and a non-negotiable, then please don't be dating everyone from every religion. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying if that's your non-negotiable, then be strong and proud about it. Do you see? Whatever they are, they won't be many, and you maybe need to talk about them with a good friend, because they might be wrong, but it's worth having about jobs and family and friendships and work and faith and relationships, just a bit of clarity about my non-negotiables. Fourth tip, basics, is to trial the option. You've got certain jobs or universities or relationships or cities or religious orders that you might join. Well, go and trial them. Meaning go and visit them and test them and talk to people who've done them already and meet others who are there and meet others who've left there. Yeah, very good to talk to someone who's left the religious order you're thinking of joining. Why did you leave? Yeah, go and visit the university. A number of people who apply to universities because they've got great rankings and they've never visited them. Really, to trial something, we can look from a distance for too long, experience it, intern it, have a taste of what you're thinking about. 5, look, you need to give time to think and reflect. And let's call this weighing up time. Let's call this pros and cons. You've done all the thinking and the researching. Well, give a little bit of space. Go for a walk. However you do, everyone does this differently. Do you go for a walk? Do you sit in the chapel? Do you write a pros and cons list on a piece of A4? Do you write an email or a text to a friend summing up what's on your mind? You need to reflect and have a bit of space to think about big decisions. This is such an important rule. Please, with any medium to large decision, make sure you've talked about it with at least 1 or 2 people that you trust and you know are wise and thoughtful. Yeah. The danger of making impulsive decisions on our own, or just getting a bit blinded and trapped in our own thinking. Please talk to someone. Look, you're not just talking to get advice. They might have advice. They might have general advice. Oh, I happen to know about this university. Or, oh, I'd never go into that to work at that place. It's terrible there. but they might just be a listening ear, a sounding board. And the fact of you speaking and getting it out there, and one friend of mine says, I speak before I think. And I remember having a big argument, saying to him, for goodness sake, Simon, will you please think about what you're going to say before you actually say it? And he said to me, how do I know what I'm thinking before I've spoken it? That's a certain personality type, of course, but we all learn something by putting our thoughts into words. So there's lots of reasons for talking to a friend or a colleague or advisor or mentor. It's not that they have to know us really well, it's that we trust them and they can give us some perspective. Listen. Listen to your... This is important, and I didn't put the list here, but listen to your whole self. Meaning, listen to your conscience. Is this actually right? Is there something morally wrong about going to work at this place, in this culture? Conscience. Listen to your head. Yes, what are the pros and cons? How much money will I earn? Can I afford to live there? Do I like his or her parents? Listen to your head. Listen to your heart. What do I desire and feel and love and long for and rejoice in? Listen to your gut. Do I just have a gut feeling about this? That's important. Listen to your soul, to your spirit. Listen to the spirit. Listen to the very quiet movements of your heart and soul, which is not just your conscience, it's not just your opinion, it's something deeper. I hope you've experienced this. Just a feeling that there's a little nudge or an insight, a bit of light. Wow, I'd never thought about that. And maybe this is just my heart, but maybe it's the Holy Spirit guiding me. Listen to yourself, but your whole self. Conscience, head, heart, gut, soul and spirit. Wait. Next bullet point. Sometimes we need to wait. It's okay. I've been going round in circles, I can't make a decision. Sometimes just forget about it, put it off. It'll have disappeared in a month's time. Or it will have resolved itself. Sister Mary said to me, I never make a decision in the evening. I always sleep on it. And the answer is often there in the morning when I wake up. Wait, if you can and if you need to. But sometimes, the next bullet point, we need to choose and decide. This is the moment. I've been thinking for 1 hour, I've been thinking for 10 years about this. I need to choose and decide. It hasn't come clear, so sometimes we need to make the best decision we can. Don't worry that you don't know the perfect thing. You don't need to. Please, you do not need to know the perfect thing. You do not need more information if you haven't got it. If you've got to make the decision today, if you can't get more information today, then stop thinking, I need more information to make the decision. You don't. You need more information to make another decision. But the decision you have now is here today with this information, with this me. Make a decision. Make the best decision you can. And if you're absolutely not sure between one or the other, then it doesn't matter, because it means that they're equal. Do you see? If there's two equally attractive jobs on exactly the same pay in the same town, then toss a coin if you can't decide, because it shows that you love them both. Next bullet point, trust. Stop worrying. Trust that God's given you everything you need to make this decision now. It's very limited, it's not perfect, but it's what you need. Trust yourself. Yeah, I'm not brilliant, but I can make a decision here. Trust providence. Okay, I'll do the best I can. If it's the wrong thing in 3 months, God will help me. No one's going to die. Trust. Stop worrying. And rethink if it's necessary, finally. Yeah? Nearly everything you can rethink. Some things you can't, and you shouldn't make those decisions hastily. Yeah? Don't get married if you're not sure. Don't be ordained if you're not sure. I mean, these are big, irreversible decisions. You need to choose these things, not just to fall into them. Okay? There's the list. When I say choose those things, I mean that they come out of your freedom, yeah? I mean, don't make rash decisions, basically. Yeah. Okay? Right, if you're stuck, this is what you can do to help you to move forward. So let's say you've listened to everything I've said, you're trying to make the best decision, you feel absolutely paralysed and helpless still. You can't make a decision. Right, here's some things you can do. You can imagine that you've taken one decision. These are just common tricks, and I'm sure you've done lots of them before. Use your imagination. Think, right, I'm going to do this, play with it for a little bit, see where you are. How does it feel? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you content? See your reactions. You can tell someone that you're doing this. This has helped me in the past. I've said to someone, I'm going to do this, and I've watched their reactions. You can wait. We've already talked about that. You can take one step. This is really important in so many areas of life, in work, in studies, in relationships. Take a step. You don't have to go the whole way. Yeah? Ask someone out. You might not be sure if you want to marry them. Go and do an internship. You might not be sure if it's the job for you. Go and spend a week at this university. Go and visit a religious order. Take a step. If you've been thinking about the priesthood for 2 years, really seriously, but can't decide, I would say to you, apply. Doesn't mean you're going to get ordained tomorrow, but apply for the priesthood and see where the process of application takes you. Take a step. Take a risk, even if you're not 100% sure. And decide. Make a decision. And I just want to emphasise the language here. In English we say, you make a decision. You don't find a decision. You make it. So be prepared to act and to change and to correct if necessary, but most things you can undo. Really, I'll say that again. You can leave a job if it's terrible. You can move back to where you were before. You can date someone and it doesn't work out and it's sad and it's hard, but okay, you needed to try that and it didn't work out. Yeah? Make a decision, take a risk, trust yourself. Most of us are risk averse, so we need to push into action. Not everyone. Some people need to stop acting, but most of us, we're a little bit more, we need to be pushed to action. And just remember the 80% rule. You've all heard this, I hope. That if 20% of your ideal is missing, it still might be okay. So be open to something that's got 80%. If the 20% is your non-negotiables, then rule it out. Right? Don't compromise on your non-negotiables, but don't be obsessive about every detail. If you meet someone who's amazing but has got 1 or 2 faults, well, be open to them if they're amazing. If this job is fantastic but it's not in the town you wanted to live in, well, be open to it. Maybe you can sacrifice the 20%, this town, and do this amazing job and create a new life. If you want to live in that town but it's not the perfect job, maybe you can sacrifice that job for a less perfect job, 80%, but you're really in the town that you want to live in. And if you're stuck, begin with the end in mind. Right? Where do you want to go? It won't solve everything, but it's a phrase I've quoted already. Begin with the end in mind. Right. I'm going to race through another list, but I'll give you the notes, because I think I don't want to go on for too much longer, and then I want to finish with a diagram and a meme. Right. This is just summing up what we've been saying, yeah? When we're looking at all the different choices in front of us, what are we actually looking for? Yeah. Well, this is a summary of some of the things we've said. We need to be realistic about the options. We need to be moral. We need to be faithful, and by that I mean we need to be faithful to the commitments that we have made. If you're married, you can't pretend you're not married and travel around the world tomorrow without talking to your husband or wife and your children. Do you see? If I'm a priest, I can't just go off and become an oil contractor in Saudi Arabia tomorrow because the job looks very interesting, because I'm a priest. Yeah? I've got commitments. So we need to be faithful to our fundamental commitments, but listen to the desires of your heart. Listen to the inspirations you have. Look at the gifts you have. Think about the good that you want to achieve. What do other people see in you? What's the wider impact that this decision will have on my life? And of course, I want to hold on to my Christian values and my own integrity. Yeah? So, I've gone very quickly through that. All I'm saying is, be aware that all of these things can be important, and it's not just a set of rules. It's not just I have to do the most realistic thing. No, I might really want to use this gift that I have. Yeah, I'm not going to get paid much for it, but I really want to use this gift. It might be I'm not great at this, I don't have loads of gifts, but I really want to do this job because it's doing so much good, and that inspires me so much. It might be I'd love to do this job, but in that work culture there's no way you can keep your Christian integrity, because I know what it's like there, because my friends have told me. Right? And here is the summing up diagram. Have you seen this before? Yeah. This is what a life coach taught me when I was at a seminar of young people. Yeah? That when you're trying to work out what job to do, but this applies to, I think, any decision, you've got a Venn diagram with three key criteria. Passion, your desires, your personal interests, what you like, what you care about. Passion. Skill, can you do it? Do you have the gifts? Are you able? Do you have the qualifications? Do you have the aptitude? Do you have the energy, the health, the ability? And also need. Is there a need for this job? Is it fulfilling a purpose? Is it contributing something? Is there a job in this market? Is there a research that needs doing in this area? Am I contributing to the good of humanity, of society, of the workplace? Yeah? Passion, skill and need. And the ideal job, the ideal spouse, the ideal lifestyle is something that combines all of these things and hits the bullseye. If I can find something that I love doing and I'm good at it and it's really serving a purpose, isn't that great? Yeah? So I find this really helpful. Now, what if one of these things is missing? This is why I like the Venn diagram. Look, this is the next one. If I've got passion and skill, but there's no need for this, it's not helping anyone, it's just a hobby. I'm a hobbyist. If I've got passion, and it really needs someone to do it, but I've got no skill, I'm just an amateur. I'm playing around. If I've got the skill and the need, if I've got the skill and there is a need, but I've got no passion, no interest, no love for what I'm doing. I'm just a slave. So I'll put this on Facebook. Yeah, I found this very helpful for myself and also with other people. And one or two people I've shown this to, and it's completely changed their life. I'm not claiming the credit for this. I'm giving the credit to the life coach. Have you seen that before, Oscar?
No, I'll tell you later.
Okay, so that's worth memorising. Right, finishing with some memes, and I'll put these on Facebook. Ready? I didn't have time to meme them up. The perfect is the enemy of the good. Don't try and make a perfect decision. Try and make a good decision. Try and make the best decision you can, and God will bless you for that, and you'll find peace. I've said that already. It's not about finding the perfect answer, but making the best decision you can in these circumstances. Feel the fear and do it anyway. You've all heard that one before, yeah? Better to have lost in love than never to have loved at all. If a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing well. So don't be careless about these things. If it's work, if it's life, if it's family, if it's relationships, do things well. Try to do the best you can. Right? But the second follow-on meme, if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Meaning, give it a go. Don't let the idea of perfection stop you doing something that you can do. Lean into something. Give it a go, even if you're not perfect and you might fail. Padre Pio said, pray, hope, and don't worry. And a friend of mine, an Irish grandmother, said, don't hurry, don't worry, and don't forget to smell the flowers. Right? So maybe that's all you need to know after my long talk. Okay? Thank you very much.